if you need to write on your own back. That's what that means.
Can you guys, if I push this back, can you see this over here, or do you want me to put it up there?
I'm standing.
You can
so-
see it?
You turn the other light off.
Can you not do that? And please get rid of all of those.
I got pizza
You
enough.
want me to turn this light off, you're
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. That's good.
Alright, that helps?
Yo, Kalisha.
Okay, so this, maybe take some notes. This is MLA Format, and it's the 8th edition. They have, every once in a while, they change it. You know what? Before we get into notes, I am going to show you real quickly here this website. It's called Owls Purdue. It's called Owls. What's going on? Okay, this website is called, there's a website called Owls Purdue, and it's, yep, it's through Purdue University. And actually, that's they have, Owls Purdue, there's like a writing one. It will help you with everything with writing, or give you ideas. But here, they also have formatting and style guides, so that if at any time that you have a paper and your teacher says, I want you to use APA format, if you go to Owls Purdue, it gives you like guides for every single type of formatting or of any paper. So it shows, so this is MLA, and you can actually put in your information, and then if you click cite, it will look for the book for you, it'll make a citation for you, it'll do it for you. And it has all different kinds. It has all the styles of formatting. And it will tell you everything you need
That's a lot of stuff.
about it, okay? Honestly, whenever I'm doing a paper and I need, that recently when I've been doing these and I need to do citing, I will go here. My daughter has said, well, Mom, I always go to Owls Purdue. And so that is a really, really, really good resource. So just for your future, remember that next year when you're in high school and you have to do some citations. Owls Purdue is a really good website to go to help you with any of that, okay? So I just wanted to show that to you. Yeah.
Are we gonna use that for today?
Well, I want you to like learn about it a little bit, okay? So that's why we're gonna go ahead and learn about it, and then, yes, that is a resource for you, but anyway, so MLA format, MLA stands for Modern Language Association, okay? What is MLA? Well, here's what it is. It's a standard set of guidelines that specifies how you format a paper, how you punctuate it. So it's not only citing the sources, but it's the way your paper looks, okay? It's also how you cite sources in academic writing, and as I said, especially in the humanities classes. So any English literature, things like any of your kind of art classes, music classes, any of your sociology, psychology, those types, those are considered humanities, okay? Why is it important? MLA format is important because it provides a consistent format for writing papers. It also guides us in documenting and citing sources. You must cite your sources in order to lend authority and credibility to your work. That means that it's believable, right? If you are saying, this is written somewhere else, I didn't just make it up, and if you're putting that in your paper is more credible, it's more believable, because it's not just you coming up with the information, but it's been published somewhere by, we should probably talk about credible resources, but by experts in the field, by people who have done research, by people who have studied it. So it makes your paper more credible, right, Luke?
Yes, it makes your
Okay.
paper credible.
It allows your readers to cross-reference your sources. So your teacher could say, oh, I'm not saying all your teachers are going to do this, but your teacher could say, oh, where did they find that? Oh, I want to find out more information about that and look it up. Or, you know, if you were a researcher and you were writing about something and another teacher or another scientist was going to read, they could go to that source and they could find out more if they thought that was interesting. Acknowledge your academic debts and avoid plagiarism. So plagiarism is a big deal, right? So plagiarism is taking someone else's work and saying it's your own, and it's illegal, basically. So by doing this, you're avoiding plagiarism. And some teachers are going to be really big on that. Maybe I'll try to get it switched out, Lucas, but not right now, with maybe one at the end. All right, so what is different about MLA 8th edition? So the 8th edition, like I said, they just make changes once in a while. It was published in 2016, and what it did is it rethinks documentation for an era of digital publication. So now, most of the time, you probably find your information through digital resources, probably more than when I was in high school and college. I had to go to the library and get books, and you still do that. You still can do that, but probably more often than not, you're getting it through digital resources, okay? So MLA, or the 8th edition, basically now recommends universal set of guidelines that writers can apply to any source, gives writers in all fields, from the sciences to humanities, a tool to intuitively document sources. So it's basically how you document digital sources, okay? So that's what it is. It's how you set up your paper, the requirements for how you set up your paper, and how you cite sources. So you don't have to write all this down, okay? But basically, when you format your paper in MLA, so that's how your paper is set up, right? How you format it. You should always type it on 8.5 by 11-inch paper, and you should use a 12-point font. So if someone says, I want you to write your paper in the MLA format, you're supposed to use a 12-point font. And you should use that size paper, which is basically the size we all use, right? 1-inch margins on all sides. So that means you don't pull your margins way in, so you just have a skinny column. Okay, you have 1-inch margins on all sides, which is basically normal. The first line of each paragraph is indented 1/2 inch from the left. just suggest you use the tab. That's something you already know, right? So a lot of this stuff you already know. And it's called MLA format. In MLA format, you have to indent the first line of every paragraph. The body text of the paper is double spaced in MLA format. So that might be not something that you usually do. That's MLA format, to double space your lines. So it gets really technical. Only one space after periods and other punctuation marks. How many of you have done 2 spaces usually?
On accident?
No,
On purpose?
on purpose. That was what it was when I was in high school and college. You did 2 spaces. So I always do that after every period or end punctuation. But now for MLA, just 1 space. And then if you're writing a paper in MLA format, you number all of your pages in the upper right-hand corner, okay? And your page number should be 1/2 inch from the top of the paper and in line with your right margin. Okay, so that's just how it's set up. That's a part of MLA. So when you're in high school or college, an APA might be a little bit different, not much different, but it might be. So depending on what your teacher says you should use, like, okay, I want your paper in MLA format. And if you come in without, having your page numbers, or if you single space it or blah, 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 you'll probably lose points. So just so you know, whatever your teacher says, how they want your paper, like it's not like here, where you can write your name anywhere or not write it at all. They want it in a certain format. So if they say APA, Chicago style, look it up, go to Al Purdue, and just know that means it has to be in a certain format, and look that up. Yes?
Is there like a default format that you use when like your teacher doesn't say, oh, use MLA or other way?
No, I would just choose one of them, I guess. Yeah, if they don't say, or you can ask if they prefer a certain way. Okay, good question though. Okay, plagiarism. Plagiarism is using someone else's words, information, expressions, or ideas without giving them credit. It is not okay to simply change some of the wording of someone else's work. It is not sufficient to just put quotation marks around someone's work. You also have to say where you found it. Okay? If you're questioning it, then just say where you found it. You know what I mean? If you have any question, because it does get hard sometimes. I know, I'm like, well, how else do I say this? Or how do I make this? So if you are ever questioning it, you just give credit to where you found it. You just say, in the book by so-and-so. You just put quotation marks and put in parentheses where it came from. And then you don't have to worry about it. Sometimes it might look like everything your whole paper is that. I think it's okay as long as you're citing where it's coming from. There are programs now, or apps or programs, I don't know, that you can put your paper in and it will tell you what percentage of it is plagiarized. Olivia was just doing a paper for her biology class at Rosemount, where her teacher, she says she's so huge on plagiarism and she checks it. So, and she puts it in, uses those programs to make sure that how much of it, and she says that teacher tells them that if 80% or more of your paper, that it should be at least 80% of your paper should not be plagiarized. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I might need to
20%.
ask Livy about that again. If it's 80%, if it's more than
80% plagiarized, you fail.
no, probably the other 20% plagiarized. probably 80% has to be your own.
Wait, so for like the plagiarized thing, what if you do give credit, will it, like, so in the book it says blah, 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 and you run it through the plagiarism scanner thing, will it still say plagiarized because you're citing?
I don't think it will, RM. I don't, I should probably find that out, right? I'll try to look, but. Okay, so this is a really good way to avoid plagiarism. When you're researching for your paper, you just take notes in like short phrases, not full sentences, unless you plan on crediting that. And then when you're writing your paper, look at your notes rather than looking in the book, because then you're less likely to be taking it word for word, right? So if you're just staring at the original, it's easier to plagiarize. It's harder not to plagiarize. It's okay to look back if you need, oh, what did this say again? You know, but just cite anything that you borrow, okay? We're not going to go completely through all this, but I want you to know when the teacher is asking you to write your paper in a certain format, it's everything, even where you put your name and what you put here. Like in an MLA format, they want it on the first paper on the left side, your name, your instructor's name, the name of the course, and then the date. Okay, so like here you put your name, Mrs. Sirak, or Sue Sirak, ELA 8, we'll just say, and then the date. Okay, that goes in the left-hand side. There's no title page. Now in APA, there's a title page. So they're just all a little bit different, but they still usually do these same things. You put the title of your paper centered at the top of the first page. Right on the next line after your date and everything. They call this a header. That's your page number and like your last name. And then 1-inch margins all around. This would be, if you were writing one, this would be a checklist. You know what? I'll put this on Google Classroom, okay? So like your second page, so that's your first page, has your name and everything and the course and everything in the upper left hand. Then the rest of the pages, you have 1 inch, it's all double spaced, and then all you do is put like your page number, your last name and your page number. Okay, those are the rest of the pages. Okay, in-text citation and punctuation. So an in-text citation means you cite your sources directly in the paragraphs of your essay when you're using someone else's words. Okay, these quotations would be short and they go inside quotation marks. And here's an example. You're writing your paper and then you say, Nelson Mandela once said, comma, quotation marks, and then you write what he said and you end it with quotation marks. If you took that from a book or a website, then you would put parentheses and you would put the author's name and like the page number and then end it in parentheses. And the way that your teacher knows what book that came from is at the end you have like a works cited page and you would have the author and the title of the book and everything. If you have a longer quotation, longer means if it's more than 4 lines, that's considered a long quotation. Okay? Then what you should do is the line before your long quotation, you end it with a colon. That's the 2 dots. You indent the quotation on all sides a 1/2 inch from the rest of the paper. So you may have seen that before, where you have like a group of words that's in even more from the rest of the paper. It's usually single spaced and it looks like a block of words. That would be if you have a long quotation, that's what you're supposed to do. And then you don't put any quotation marks around that. Okay? That's for longer quotations. The short ones can be written right in the same, typed right in the same paragraph. You just put quotation marks around them. Longer ones are set off. Longer is more than 4 lines. Okay, this I think I'm going to do in a different way. This is how you cite your works cited page. So your works cited page is basically the same thing as a bibliography. They're the same thing. Works cited page, you might hear it called sometimes, and sometimes you might hear it called a bibliography. Okay, so I have a handout for this part. I'm going to show this to my distance people. They have this too. Wake up, everybody.
Who is all this? We don't want to.
Everyone not here.
Do the wave.
Is Leah distant?
Start the wave.
No,
Go down there.
Where was she? I said, where was she?
somewhere watching.
No.
Actually,
No.
Then she can complain about they only spend $1 billion because they only spend $10 a year.
because they're like,
Well, yeah, and I'm going to like looking at like.
Logan,
All right.
the police.
And then he's yeah, but I feel like that one, I feel like that one.
All right. Distance learners can look at this on your Google Classroom page.